Good morning from Athens, Tennessee. As people are sipping their coffee, undoubtedly enjoying sunrises just like this, I'm getting a lot of questions lately about smaller cities in Southeast Tennessee that have things like shopping and grocery stores, restaurants and recreation places where you're not constantly driving to Chattanooga or Knoxville just to run errands. And that's a fair question because there's a big difference between a charming small town that makes you feel disconnected from everything that you need and a place that gives you breathing room without making you feel isolated. Athens, Tennessee falls squarely into that second category. It's about 40 minutes north of Chattanooga, right off of I-75. And what makes Athens different from a lot of small cities is that it's not waiting for things to arrive. The amenities are already here. The healthcare is there, the schools, the parks, the grocery stores, all of it is here. But it still has that small town feel, and that balance is harder to find than you might think. So today, I'm walking you through Athens, what it's like to live here day to day, how people handle work and commuting, what the downtown scene looks like, and what real estate options exist if you're seriously considering making this your home. And by the end, you'll know whether Athens is the kind of place that fits your life that you're trying to build, or whether you'd be better off looking at one of the other towns in the area. I'm Chris Roberts, your Southeast Tennessee relocation realtor, and I help people from all over the country navigate their move to Chattanooga, Cleveland, and the towns throughout this region. If you're thinking about relocating to Tennessee, go ahead and grab my free relocation guide. It's right down in the description below. And if you're ready to have a conversation right now, my number is going to be right there on the screen in front of you. So here's the thing about Athens that stands out pretty quickly once you spend time here. Things just work. You need groceries? This city of 15,000 people has multiple grocery stores, from an Aldi to an Ingles and even a grocery outlet, which is one of my favorite places. You're not planning out your whole afternoon just to trudge through traffic to pick up some milk. You need to pick something up at the pharmacy or have an appointment across town? You're there in minutes, and parking isn't a problem. For people coming from bigger metros where every errand feels like a negotiation between traffic and time, that shift is significant. Life in Athens doesn't require constant planning and stress management. You've got time in your day, and that might sound small, but over weeks and months, it changes how you feel about where you live. Athens has an adorable downtown that people actually use, and I don't mean that it's something you drive through and think, oh, that's cute, and then forget about it. I mean, people really go there. You'll see locals grabbing lunch at places like Hound Pizza, meeting up at coffee shops like Maddie, and sometimes just walking around because it's a pretty downtown. There are small businesses that have been here for years, like Greeks Bearing Gifts, that's been there for 30 years, and newer spots that are filling in the gaps and keeping things fresh. Downtown Athens is just there, doing its thing, and people show up because it serves a purpose in their lives. That consistency matters more than most people realize when they're choosing where to live. And speaking of consistency, one quirky detail that I've noticed is that Athens has way more drive-through coffee shops than you'd expect for a city this size. I'm talking a surprising number. People here really love their coffee, and they really love not getting out of their car to get it because all of them are always busy. Athens hangs its hat on living out the slogan, the friendly city. And I can tell you from personal experience, that's not just a slogan on a sign. When I first moved here, I was looking for a copy of my property's septic permit. Simple enough, right? So I went to the county office downtown like I was told. They sent me to the 911 call center, which is where they keep their records, and my GPS took me to what I thought was the right place, but it turns out it was an agricultural loan office. And the guy working there, he looked at me and he said, "Oh, people come in all the time thinking that this is it. Well, let me walk you over." And he didn't just point. He walked me across the parking lot, through the John Deere dealership, and over to the actual 911 call center. Now, they still didn't have the septic info that I needed, but that's not really the point. The point is that somebody took 5 minutes out of their day to personally walk a stranger where they needed to go. That is Athens. And when you live here long enough, you start to notice that kind of thing isn't an exception. It's how people just operate here. Now, Athens isn't frozen in time. It's changing, and you can see it. In the past year, some notable retailers have opened up here, like Marshall's, Five Below, and Ulta, and even a new Ollie's, which I am super duper psyched about. That might not sound like headline news, but for a town this size, it signals something important. It means that companies are looking at Athens and seeing growth, population stability, and consumer spending. They're betting on this place. And those kinds of bets don't happen in towns that are shrinking or stagnating. On the residential side of real estate, new construction is happening too. Riley Mills is one of the newer subdivisions with homes between $300,000 and $340,000, modern finishes, solid build quality, and a national builder, D.R. Horton, is at the Preserve at Davis Place for more attainable new construction. So if you're looking for new construction in this area, the options exist and they're being built because people want to move here. What I like about Athens too is that the growth is not frantic. It's not developers swooping in and trying to turn this into something unrecognizable. It's measured and it's thoughtful. And the town still feels like itself. You'll still have Ag Central and farm equipment dealerships lining Route 11. That's the balance a lot of people are looking for when they say they want a small town that isn't stuck in the past, but also isn't trying to become the next boom city. Okay, so work is always one of the first practical questions that people ask, and it's worth addressing head on. Athens, like Sweetwater, has its own local economy. Small businesses like the Dairy Barn that is already open here in March of 2026. Schools, healthcare, trades, hospitality and service industries, and some large manufacturers like Denso and Mayfield Dairy. That is the foundation. But plenty of people who live here also commute. And because Athens sits right on I-75, those commutes are pretty straightforward. South to Chattanooga is about 40 minutes, north to Knoxville is about 40 to 45 minutes, and Cleveland is just about 20 minutes south. Rush hour here is not really like a rush hour. Traffic moves. The drive is predictable, and for a lot of people, that predictability makes the commute feel manageable instead of soul-crushing. Athens also works well for people in hybrid or remote positions. So if you're not tied to an office 5 days a week, this becomes a place where you can live well without sacrificing career flexibility. And healthcare access is another practical consideration people rightly care about. Athens has Starr Regional Medical Center right in town. My wife Megan works there as a PRN therapist, so I know firsthand that it's a solid facility. And just last month, they opened up a brand new ICU facility that doubled their capacity. They handle most general medical needs, and there are urgent care options nearby as well. For specialists or major procedures, Chattanooga and Knoxville are both about an hour away, but for routine health care, you're not driving out of town every time something comes up. And for veterinary care, Athens has several general vet clinics. Some offer Saturday hours too, but for that 24/7 emergency vet service, you'd be looking at going to Chattanooga or Knoxville. One of my favorite things about Athens is that they invest in their parks and outdoor spaces in a way that stands out for a town this size. You've got walking trails like the Eureka Trail, where we bring Hazel to walk a lot, along with well-maintained parks that families actually use, like the Athens Regional Park. There's real infrastructure here for people who want to be outside without driving an hour to find a decent trail or some disc golf. Weekends in Athens tend to be pretty simple. You could grab a meal at the Gondolier for some pizza, meet up with friends at the Dairy Barn for one of their famous banana splits, and spend time outdoors. Run errands without it eating up your whole Saturday. People here aren't trying to escape town every weekend. They're living here. Families are growing here. And that tells you something about whether a place is working. Now, for a little context about Athens, this has always been more of a working town than a tourist destination or a retirement enclave. It's also a college town. Tennessee Wesleyan University is here, which brings students, faculty, and a little bit more cultural diversity than you might expect in a small Tennessee town. You've got a great mix of young families, retirees, college students, and longtime residents all living here side by side. And that mix creates a sense of stability and continuity that a lot of people find really reassuring. Now, let's talk a little bit about real estate in Athens, as it attracts different kinds of buyers depending on what they're looking for. Some folks want to be close to downtown, near shops and walkable streets. Others, they want to be just outside town where land and privacy become part of the equation. The median home price in Athens right now sits around $260,000 to $270,000, which is still affordable compared to larger cities. Now, most homes come with a quarter to a half acre lot, so you're getting more space than you would closer to Chattanooga. Here's a rough breakdown. If you're looking at under $250,000, you're going to be likely looking at some older homes from the 70s through the 90s or smaller starter homes. Solid bones, but might need some updates. Usually on the smaller side, around 1,200 to 1,600 square feet, and great for first-time buyers or people comfortable with doing some work. You'll also find pretty large parcels in this range too if you want to buy and build. Now, in that $250,000 to $350,000 range, this is where most buyers are going to land. Updated homes, newer builds on the north side of town, subdivisions like Riley Mills and the Preserve at Davis Place. You're looking at 1,500 to 2,000 square feet, modern finishes, granite counters, functional layouts. And some properties in this range are going to offer a little bit of acreage too if you just go outside of the city limits. Now, in that $350,000 to $500,000 on up range, you're going to find larger homes, both resale and new construction, with premium finishes or homes with significant land. You're talking 2,000 or more square feet, sometimes 3 to 5 acres. The kind of setup where you get space, privacy, and convenience all at once. There are also some beautiful historic estates in Athens, Victorian-era homes on larger lots. So if character and history matter to you, definitely worth checking out. Now, property taxes in Athens, they're cheap. Right now, in March of 2026, I'm looking at 3-bedroom homes in the $300,000 range that have annual property taxes of less than $1,000. Some will run a little more, but still, some of the most expensive annual property taxes are a little over $2,000 for what's on the MLS right now. Over the life of homeownership, that difference compounds significantly. But the real question isn't just price, it's whether Athens fits the kind of life that you're trying to build. People who do well here tend to value that easier, simpler life where you really want to spend quality time with your loved ones. And Athens tends to be a great fit if you're looking for a small city that has infrastructure without that chaos. It's got what you need. You're not fighting traffic, and you're not far away from the much larger cities like Knoxville, Chattanooga, and super close to another great smaller city, Cleveland. You can go ahead and check out more about Cleveland by watching this video right here. For a lot of people, Athens is where life feels more sustainable and more intentional. Some seasons of life just call for more activity and options, and Athens works best when you're in a season where steadiness and simplicity feel like upgrades instead of compromises. If any of that sounds right up your alley, I would love to chat with you about living in Athens, Tennessee, not just about data and price points, but an honest sense of what it's actually like to live somewhere once that novelty wears off. Now, if you've got questions about Athens, about commuting, about what neighborhoods make sense for your situation, I am more than happy to talk through it with you. If you're looking for land to build on, maybe even considering a family compound setup, check out this video right here for some insights on that process. And if you're still narrowing down your list, take your time. This is one of those decisions where getting it right matters way more than just getting it done quickly. My number is going to be right here on your screen in front of you, and you can schedule a call with me through that link below. Let's go ahead and talk about what living your best life in Southeast Tennessee could actually look like.